from New York. I'm Selwyn Collins, your host of CWS Conversations with Selwyn. Thank you for joining us this evening. CWS is about having conversations with people about their journey and how they're using their gifts and talents to help others. I am going to take a short break, and when I return, I'll give to you our guest tonight, Phillipa Morrish. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Yes, you are.
So, we are back. Those who are those of you who are joining us for the first time, I am your host, Selwyn Collins of CWS Conversations with Selwyn. The lovely lady next to me is Phillipa Morrish. Phillipa, good evening.
Good evening, Selwyn. Thank you for having me, and thank all of you who are here to share with us tonight.
Well, welcome to CWS.
Thank you.
Phillipa Morrish, if I may read a little bit about your bio,
Okay.
is a certified protocol consultant who founded Etiquette Training International in 1999 to create a bridge of understanding between the differences in North and South American social and business protocols. Phillipa teaches protocol to a wide cross-section of society, ranging from finishing school courses to high school seniors to workshops for federal correction officers in Brooklyn, Trinidad, and the military at Fort Hamilton. She's a graduate of the Ophelia DeVore School of Charm,
Yes.
New York City, and obtained additional social protocol training at Mining Manners, London. Mrs. Morrish has been honored for her community service by several civic and government organizations in New York City, including the United States House of Representatives, the New York City Council, the American Council for Minority Women, and the Fort Hamilton military base. In 2011, she was selected as one of Brooklyn's outstanding women by the Kings County District Attorney's Office. She has done several Monday Manners etiquette shows on Brooklyn Cable Access Television and currently writes a weekly column, Etiquette Boss, for the Home Reporter newspaper in New York City. Phillipa, congratulations on all of that.
Thank you. Thank you, Selwyn.
Among all the work you do, what do you enjoy doing the most?
Connecting with people. When I first started teaching teens, I thought I enjoy teens the most. I thought I enjoy teens the most. And then I gradually incorporated corporate training. And I enjoyed the adults as well. And when I received an invitation to do some seminars with law enforcement, I thought, oh no, I don't know if I'll enjoy this. And I enjoyed them as well. And I came to the conclusion it's just connecting with people. You know, that's
People.
what I enjoy the most.
What is it about people that resonate with you?
Their energy. I love people. And I believe that when I meet them, my heart is open to their possibilities. I just try to have them share that vision that I see. Whether they're young, I teach young people practically every day. And when I see them, I am thinking that that's me a few years ago or many years ago. And I know how I unfolded like a flower because I knew my beginnings. And I can see that, and I'm just wanting them to know that you're wonderful, you know. So I see possibilities, and I just want to bring it out.
If you were not a protocol consultant or social skills coach, what would you be doing?
I think I'd be a preacher. I think I'd be a minister, but a minister with a difference. They might have burnt my church down. And I'm saying that because I think I would have been a minister for Christians who've been told for their entire lives that this is the package. You have the package right here. And there is nothing else. There is not, this is it. And those Christians, myself included, you accepted, you believed that there's nothing else. This is the package. But yet the heart, your heart, keeps saying, this cannot be the entire package.
So who do you listen to? Your teachings or your heart?
My heart, but my teachings are, I see it as the base, the foundation. And then I believe that each generation, it's our responsibility to go beyond, because we're dealing with infinity, we're dealing with eternity, we're dealing with no borders when it comes to spirit. And it cannot be that any one person or doctrine can cover everything that's in the human experience. And so that's why I said I would have been a preacher. But for people like me who always felt just a little bit left of center, that, yes, I accept all of this. But then what do I do with this experience that I had that you can give me no understanding about, when I hear something and I know that's from to a minister, can distinctly remember I was about 8 years old, and I did not accept can't be right. How God, who is good, millions and billions of people who have never even heard, and they're rejected, they've never heard. That can't be fair. And I said, God, how can that be? Inside of me say, you have to trust I am just. And I understood it. I understood that everything, all the arguing left me, because I understood. I didn't get an answer as to no, that's not right, or I didn't get that. I got an answer. You have to trust in my sense of justice. And I was good with that. And I have had numerous experiences of various sorts like that, just because I have always been arguing and questioning, and so that's where that came from, that I said, if I weren't an etiquette teacher, I would be a preacher.
It never ceases to amaze me how the flow will take us.
Yes.
Will take us certain places.
Yes.
I Yale trained. So it might be worth your while to tune in and perhaps ask some questions.
I definitely will.
But you mentioned when you were 8, you remember that, and you
Yes.
remember growing up. I want to ask you this question.
Yes.
I'm in the neighborhood in which you grew up. But like growing up at the age of 9, and what was the neighborhood like?
My neighborhood was a mixed bag of shells, if I can put it that way. My dad was in the military, and I grew up on Ling Avenue, which to the outside, to me, there were working class people there. I didn't see any killing, fighting, or anything. So, but it wasn't Queenstown, and I had a wonderful childhood. My friends, my neighbors, we were always in each other's house, and it was I would not get exchange that for anything. So I've had a very nice.
So what was it like for you at the age of 14? And then tell us who you became at 21, or who you believe you became at 21.
Oh, at 14, that's high school.
Yes.
And I had some challenges. I don't know. I was telling a friend yesterday, I find myself wanting to be the person that I was at that age. Because I had so many challenges. I failed common entrance for one. And my sister, the sister before me passed, the brother after me passed, and there I was sort of in the middle. And that with our neighbors, and with common entrance, everybody's name is in the paper, so they know very well who passed and who failed and so on. So we had, it's one thing I didn't like it then when I was 14, but it was one thing that I think kept us on our toes. The neighbors were always invested in what you were doing academically, And so I went to Chatham High School, and then I felt GC was coming up, and I had no intention of failing GC. So one day I just walked into Muslim Trust College, and I said, I want to come to this school. The headmaster said, you have to have a transcript from Chatham. I went back to Chatham. Mr. Clark was the headmaster then. And I said, I need a transcript. And he said, I don't give transcripts. So just like that, he said, I don't give transcripts. So I said, okay. This time I told my parents nothing. I went back, walked from Robb Street back to it was Camp and Brickdam. I said, Mr. Clark said he doesn't give transcripts. He said, well, I can't take you without a transcript. So there I was, back and forward. I went about 3 times. He won't give me a transcript, and I really want to cut. He said, listen, his name was Mr. Saw. Don't come back. Don't come back without a transcript. So that was happening at that age. And I went home. I went into a closet and I knelt down. And I said, dear God, I'm asking you to please help me to go to this school. And I think I forgot about it. And about 3 or 4 days later, I just felt go right back there. And I walked on my lunch hour into Muslim Trust College. And there was Mr. Saul leaving, coming through the door, leaving. And all I saw, he saw me turn off Brickdam to come into the driveway, and he looked around and he shouted to someone inside, give this girl the school uniform and books requirements. And he walked straight past me, and I walked straight past him. I said, thank you. And I walked in there, got my books.
What did you learn about yourself from that experience?
I was tenacious. Mm-hmm. I believed that I don't know if I believed in myself as much as I believed.
But looking back, what do you think?
Looking back, I think I refused to take no for an answer.
Awesome.
Awesome. And that's how I started there. And I had a whole lot of challenges there too, not with the school, but I started to go to the library just following my own course. I would leave home. By the way, when that day I got the book requirement, and I went to my father and I said, Daddy, I've changed schools. And why? I said, yes, Chatham, I don't think I'll pass GC if I stay there. So I changed schools. But that entire process, I never involved them in it. And I was always like that. I went to the hospital and had eye surgery and never told my parents. And it's not that they didn't care. I just was, I think something is wrong with my eye. Let me go to the doctor. That was just me naturally, until the doctor said, if I don't see your parents, I refuse to do anything more on you. Then I brought them. So that is why I said I sometimes at this stage, I look back on that 16-year-old Phillipa and long to revive, if I might say, some of those qualities.
Well, who did you become at 21?
At 21, I was preparing to go to UG. I actually applied to UG 1 year before I was accepted. And my dad said, I had one job, and that is at the telephone company. I worked there for a year. And I said, Daddy, I would like to go to UG. My dad had a lot of us, and, the military money is nothing really. And he said, I don't know if I can afford to send you there full time, because you had to go full time. And that meant whatever little I was contributing towards the house wouldn't be there, and so on, and transportation, all of that. And I said, okay, Daddy. But I wanted to go. I wanted to go because I felt all of the labels, the expectations. Nobody expected anything of me growing up. They didn't. And I think that's why I did so much on my own, And I wanted to go. So what did I do? At 21, I applied again the next year, got accepted. And then I said, Daddy, I got accepted. I'm going. Because I wrote the exam. You had to write the test. And I said, I'm going. And he said, okay. Because the year before, he had turned me down. And I did everything. And then I just presented it to him. And he said, okay. So that's how I ended up there.
When you think of Guyana and growing up,
yes,
I tend to ask Guyanese this question because I'm just curious.
Yes.
What sort of colors and sounds and aromas, fragrances you remember or you think of?
Colors, green, because I lived opposite an open field. And grass is still very important to me, And the aromas, just food, the neighbors cooking. I remember one time my neighbor's pressure cooker exploded, and I thought it was a bomb. I still remember that. Why, I don't know, but there was always cooking going on because there were so many children always around. And I remember when my sister, she had fallen ill, the neighbor started my mom's pot. So when she came home from the hospital, at least the rice would be cooked, So it was that type of kindness and camaraderie that existed in that community. Yes. Yes, I do.
Outside your parents, who would you say have had the greatest impact on you?
My aunt. I had an aunt, Esther.
She's still,
yes, she's deceased, but a friend told me once, there's a Moses in every family, and she was the family's Moses, all her brothers and sisters. She had no children.
Awesome.
And she was always kind. And I think the whole etiquette thing was from her too, because she, contrary to my other aunts and my mom and them, she always had, this is your Sunday school underwear, this is your church socks. She was like that.
So what is your favorite memory of your parents? One for your dad and one for your mom.
My dad, I saw him at that time it was Booker's. And I had just come out of the library, which was my second home, I must say. At that time, it was a public free library. And I saw him in Main Street just riding. He was by Booker's. And I said, Daddy! He lit up. My dad was a very real strict military man. But he looked as though he'd seen $1 million. Not as if he'd seen me the night before at home. And that joy of him meeting me on the street, and he looked in his pocket, let me see what I have to give you. I mean, I've never forgotten that. For my mom was such a quiet person, but I think what stands out is one time when she had gone for a while, she went to the market really. And I was looking through the window as to when is she coming? And I saw the taxi pull up at the back street and she jumped out. I was delirious with joy at seeing my mother, which I don't know. Sometimes, it's a simple things that just you remember.
Why do you teach, and how should I put this? What excites you about teaching?
What excites me is that I can see the excitement when others get it.
And when did you realize you wanted to teach? That this is what you wanted to do? And when did you realize you wanted to teach? That this is what you wanted to do?
I've always wanted to communicate. I just think teaching is one medium, you know. But I think I am a natural communicator. And whether it's teaching or preaching or speaking one on one, I think that's where I'm most comfortable.
Well, then you talk about teaching and communication. Tell us about your venture into the jungles of Guyana with to teach the Makushi
The
tribe.
Makushi?
hmm What was that like?
Well, when
Why
I
did
left,
you go?
just adventure. When I left, I wanted to, as I said, I was an avid reader. My dad insisted on that. And I just walked one day into the Ministry of Education and told them I wanted to go to teach in the interior, and they said no. I went maybe 3 or 4 times before they accepted me, because at that time, well, we'd had the Brazilian, the invasion and all of that was going on. Time, no, you had to have permission to go into the interior. So that trusting any and everybody to go there when Venezuela had invaded. So they said no, there are no women there, no black women. It's just the Amerindian women, and we had like the mosquito control and cops and men, all men. And it didn't faze me. I said I want to go, and I kept going back to the Ministry of Education every minute. Net said nothing to my parents.
How old were you then?
I was what, 20, 19, 20, somewhere around there. I stayed for a year, and it was the best year of my life to date.
What did you learn from this experience? What did you learn from them about your approach to teaching?
Oh, well, I taught children, you know, but those children walked for miles to come to school every day. And they not only that, but they had a respect for me. Now I was just barely out of high school myself. But the miss, I didn't have know anyone could call me miss, and they would bring fish, and the parents. I started teaching the parents in the afternoon as a sort of protection against myself, really, because I was the only female there. When I went, they had actually, the ministry didn't tell me the total truth. There was actually a teacher, a home ec teacher, but she was leaving, so she left a few months after I'd arrived. And I mean, I was like, oh goodness. I still remember when I came off the plane, these men, oh Lord, I never seen so many men in one place. I said, you gotta have something to protect yourself here. And so I decided to start like Bible studies with the ladies, the native women, the Amerindian women, and once a week I would have them there, and I would teach them, and then I'd have them to write letters and so on and so forth. So that sort of made a protective barrier around me.
Two things I have to ask you. I must ask you. A, what was the motivation to go there?
Mm-hmm.
And since I'm seeing determination in you rearing its head. What is it about you and no, Phillipa?
Let me tell you. The motivation was just adventure.
Okay.
I just wanted to explore and to see a different way
And
of
you
life.
chose that place.
And I just chose there.
Okay.
There was nothing special about that. But no, when you say that, I am now amazed because I'm thinking I have a draft. Now, the people that I teach now, one of my courses, which is overcoming obstacles, my very first barrier, because I have made it like a play field, a football field. And the first obstacle or the first person who is there to obstruct your progress to that goal is no. And I said, now this no, because I have others, age, money, lack of money, and all of that as obstacles, but the first one is no. And I said, this no on this field does not mean you turn back. This no means it's a player. Like any other match. The football, he doesn't turn back because he sees the opposing players there about to tackle him. He knows that's their job. And no, that's his job. So you've got to decide, how am I tackling you? How am I getting around you? You're not here to turn me back. You're just a part of the game.
If I may interrupt you for a second, I'm
Yes.
just curious. Did this philosophy around no, was this when you were a child, when you were sort of pushing Mr.
Clark?
No, not Mr. Clark.
Oh, Mr. Saw?
Mr. Saw. When you were determined to get past Mr. Saw's barrier. Was this when you were determined for the Ministry of Education to
Yes,
send you into the interior? Did you realize this then?
No.
When did this philosophy of no, when did you discover this philosophy around now?
Just now. When
At
you
this
said to
moment.
me, because it just dawned on me. It just dawned on me.
We have to love CWS, don't we?
Yes. It just dawned on me that this play field that I have it's of overcoming obstacles. No, it's the very first. And maybe that's because subconsciously that's what I've been doing.
I want to go to a quick break, but I want to ask you a question. It's a quick answer.
Yes.
What is one thing you learned at the protocol school in London that stood out for you?
The presence of my teacher.
Presence.
More than anything she taught me. I mean, she just exude grace and beauty and charm. She made learning so easy. Her skills and whatever, it didn't intimidate.
Awesome.
It sort of embraced the student.
Let's take a break.
Thank you.
It was just a wonderful experience.
I had a great time. I always have a great time when I come here. There was 1 week when I came here 3 times.
Very simple, good food, good friends, amazing staff. I can't complain.
Most of you. Sonia is having an event at the restaurant that I just presented to you, El Borto. Sonia, you want to tell us why or what this event is about?
Yes, tomorrow evening at the lovely Alberta restaurant, we're going to be having a fashion display and a trunk show. The last time I went to Alberta, that's when we had a meet and greet, and I absolutely fell in love with that place prior to having dinner there. And sometimes people say, "Oh, my clothing is really more for the summer." I want them to see that we have fall stuff and winter stuff too. So I think that is what was my main motivation for doing it around this time too, because most Caribbean designers, including myself, the bigger part of my line is the summer, but we have a variety, and we need people to come down and check it out tomorrow.
What time? What time?
It's from 6 to 10, and it's between Park Place and 7th Avenue. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Lovely, Phillipa. Phillipa, quick question.
The camaraderie I enjoyed with my neighbors, my girlfriends. I left Guyana 23, so all of my references are before then, and doing each other's hair when we were going out, just that camaraderie among women.
I want to shift the social protocol. What appeals to you about teaching? What is it, first of all? Means, but
okay.
What is it? How do you define?
Well, the protocol of itself is just a set of rules that are instituted by any society, business. There are various protocols, for example, just recently I was hearing about the Ebola crisis. They're just the way that the nurses, they have to get dressed and all of that. Those are protocols. So protocols are just rules that are instituted by a society or a business. Socially, for any community to exist and thrive, there must be protocols, or else everyone will do their own thing, and that'd be crazy. So that's the basis of social protocol, in which to be accepted at various levels of society. Where the problem comes outside of the society that you want to enter, whether it's for business, vacations, marriage, regardless. You're stepping out from your comfort zone, in which the accepted protocols of that life, into another. And if you do not know the protocols of that where you want to enter, so I try to bridge, especially South America, the West Indies, because I'm very comfortable with, one leg in both camps, with North American protocols.
Oh, let me just go to the chat room. To be the survivor that you seem to be.
Oh, that's
and Ashad said again, nothing like the word to cover you from fear. Excellent ideas to protect yourself.
Thank you so much, Ashad. I appreciate that.
Any particular words of wisdom you remember from any of your parents that still resonate with you today?
My father's classic words, did you try? Did you my father would never accept, Daddy, I can't. If you could say yes, you're let off the hook.
What did you learn about your own upbringing that made you proud of it after you started delving deep into the various aspects of social protocol?
I was allowed to be me. That, more than anything else. Tolerance, openness. And so I feel That has helped me tremendously in going into various societies, seeing how they do things and having that open mind, not to see that my way, the high standard, but call and just share it.
Share with us one or two things you learned while you were in London at this school that surprised you.
What surprised me is how much we're linked to the British systems. We had to go to museums, and Albert and Victoria Museum, for example. I saw the old queens. They would when after they'd worn dress for or whatever, they would hide. That for high school, we would turn our skirts. We would wear our skirts, and then for the next term, we would take that same skirt, turn it over. One side was faded, but that other side was like new. So we would turn it over and pleat it, and you had a new skirt for the next. And that came from England.
That's amazing.
That amazed me.
I never knew that. And I grew up with so many sisters.
No, but
I never knew that.
well, maybe that was just for the poor families. But then I saw it in London for the queens. But I said, oh, so this turning over of clothes, maybe that's where it came from.
Tell us about Etiquette Training International, your finishing school.
Okay.
And why do you believe this type of education is important?
I believe, first of all, Etiquette Training International was conceived as a way of me giving back. Me giving back to Guyana first, because my even though I've lived much longer here than in Guyana, my heart is still in Guyana. And I think when I get down to the bottom of it, I've wanted to give to the youth there, living there. In addition to that, I feel that the world has become a global village. And travel now is so different. When I was growing up, when you went to the airport, people bus loads, tears, wailing as if it's a death because they didn't know when they were seeing each other again. Now the world, it's you back and forth, several times a year sometimes. So, but we come here and do not realize that to succeed, the system in North America is not exactly the same. There are a lot of subtleties. And I wanted and I still want to help ease that transition. And at the base of it all, even law enforcement, I have found that in speaking to commanders and so forth, their problems are the soft skills. It's not the hard skills, it's not the job, it's the soft skills, it's the public perception. And this is where I help. This is where I go and give my view, because, for example, even in New York, we have a perception. Same thing in Guyana. Now, when I was there last year, I told them the police force is a service. Almost any, the motto, yeah, you're first a service industry. So the people, the police, you're here to serve, but you're a police force, so you also have the force aspect for the criminal, okay? But if your force is toward the people force on not work. So what eat, it's help institute soft skills. It's about teaching. I am not very good. I'm not my best at teaching children younger than 8 because because younger than 8 you're basically teaching manners. They can only grasp so much. But older than that, I try to them see that if you are gracious, if they feel good about themselves. And so it's more about that. It's more about of the young people. And if do certain things, much better.
Who do you attribute?
My father. My dad.
I wanna. It is a hot day in Guyana or somewhere in the Caribbean. To read. A glass of your favorite drink is within reach, and we assume you want to listen to a bit more than the sounds of nature. Which book would that be? Listening to.
Well, any maybe pine drink or something like that. I don't like anything that's too acid, so I think a pine drink would be good. Some ice. And the book, I love biographies. Sidney Poitier's biography, This Life.
I think I have that.
This Life, I have read that book and I have given so many copies of it. So it's one of my go-to books.
What are some things you believe you are doing right that positions you to be a successful woman? And what do you believe being a successful black woman in America says about you?
Well, that's success. I'm glad to hear you. Because it's something I still keep aspiring to.
Well, what is
I said I feel it's a work in progress. I feel I have so much to give. And it's, time.
But in a dark room, it is still light.
Yes.
Yourself?
Oh, well, I guess so. My motto, really, my life's motto is to light one candle and to curse the darkness.
Awesome.
So I do try to light candles. It causes, sometimes I'm seen sometimes as a bit of a maverick and so on, and stirring the pot a bit. But I feel that if I'm convinced this is light, sooner or later, people will come.
Tell us about the Chrysalis project and what was the motivation behind it?
Oh, well, I started the project for the women who were incarcerated because I felt that the process of changing from a caterpillar to a butterfly that transition period is where a lot of women who are incarcerated, their self-esteem and I've been at the Brooklyn detention facility for 3 years teaching some of these women, and I have felt that they've told me they are so they feel so deflated. Their children, they're embarrassed to go back into society and all of that. So it's basically giving them some skills in which they can feel that they are not their actions. And as I always tell them, I said, you are still writing in your book of life. The last chapter has not yet been written. And you're the only person with that pen. Don't give anyone else your pen. I like that. And that helps them when they realize there are many more chapters to write and you've got the pen. So let's take it from there.
What is a defining moment for you during those 3 years teaching those women?
When there are so many rules in prison, you have no idea how many rules there are. They can't have this and that. But they somehow made me a certificate. And they stuck things together in raised letters to the coolest teacher in teacherhood. That certificate is above all of my other citations and certificates, because I felt they've got it. They've got what I was trying to give to them.
I want to pick your brain a little bit.
Okay.
Let's go to that particular segment of the population.
Yes.
They're incarcerated. You said they're feeling deflated. Life has left them behind, and so on. What do you tell to that group who might be thinking that etiquette or social protocols is not for them? It's for a certain class of people, or for people who are physically free.
Yes.
What do you tell to that group?
I tell them that you can change your mind from the outside or from the inside. You can, if you're depressed, you walk in a certain way. You walk with your shoulders slumped. Your whole body language tells of the state of your mind. But few of them realize that if you change your body language, you can change your internal bearing. So I teach them to change from the outside in. I can't help with them thinking about their children and whatever else is happening, but I can tell them that if you walk, well, I give them the positions of the head, and you have your chin can be up, which means you feel a little above. A little up always gives you that little aristocratic bearing. Middle, eye to eye, contact is equality. But when you're looking down, it's submission. And that's why I tell them, when you have to break eye contact, never break it and look down. Break it and look away. So it's all these little techniques that I teach them to help them. You know?
What is the biggest misconception you believe people have about social protocol? Or one of the biggest?
That there are two big ones. One is that it's not for me. Because, not for them, because they're doing quite well with whatever skills they have in their jobs. You know, I'm okay. As one person told me, well, if I around me don't know that anyway, so I said, but I'm not training you for the people around you. I'm training you for a higher level. Don't you want to just stretch? Don't you want to see how far you can go? You know? So it's getting past that I'm okay as I am. And the second thing is feeling, especially with etiquette, that it's all about manners and how to eat and take your elbows off the table. But I say no. Because now in this 21st century, a handshake is no more just a greeting. I show them your hand has three positions. Your hand can be this way, it can be this way, or it can be that way. And if you're an interviewer and you're trained in new techniques, the minute someone who comes for a job comes and they extend their hand, right away, you know if that person has a dominant personality, which they shake hands that way, meaning the person whom they're shaking whose hands, you're putting them in the submissive position. Or this way, which is equality, or some people shake hands that way, they're in the submissive position. So the person who has that submissive type of personality usually is more an open type. You want them for if you have a business in which you need someone who's a people person, who is at the front desk. You don't want someone who comes to you like that. You want that person as a supervisor who's going to hire and fire people. So I'm saying a handshake is no more just a greeting and I have a firm handshake and I'm okay. Etiquette and protocol, like every other discipline, has also moved on. And this, you have to catch up and know how you're being read now. You know, even in shaking, a handshake from your elbow is supposed to be in a certain position, close to the body. If from the time I see you, I extend my hand, which is called an extended handshake, there is no crook in the elbow, it's straight. That is indicating that person is not comfortable with the other person being in their body space. And this happened well, it wasn't last year, when Michelle Obama went to Italy. And at that time, the Prime Minister Berlusconi, he was having all these issues. I don't even think it's resolved yet, with all these young girls, and they had him, he was indicted, for these underage girls. And I think being a parent of young girls, she was not that thrilled in meeting him. So when she met him, I don't think she realized it, but she had this extended handshake. And all of the press picked up on it. And they were showing it. So I said, you may not realize it, but there are people who know. You see that? She's not that happy in meeting him because there was no crook in the elbow. It's all out there. You stay right there. So all of these things, etiquette and protocol, it has advanced. And I just try to bring people up to date. And I love new things anyway. I'm always seeking for new information, how to teach in a different way,
In the chat room, Gloria said, so happy you two finally had a conversation.
Oh, that is lovely. Hello, Gloria. Thank you.
What do you hope the students who graduate from your school are able to contribute to their communities or to society?
I hope they would have open minds. We, many times, regardless of whether it's our education, our religion, or whatever, I have found so many people think this is it, and I want them to approach life with total openness and abandon, willing to learn, willing to see what's new. The universe just keeps moving and expanding. Naturally, physically, it keeps expanding. So why not? Let's just see how far our minds can expand, see what more we can learn. And if that, because my information today might not apply 10 years from now, but if you're open to receiving, to learning new things, you will step right in there and incorporate and,
You said that you love to experience new things and explore new ways of teaching and new forms of etiquette and social protocols, etc.
Yes.
When one thinks of etiquette, we think of a traditional approach to things. We think of a set of rules that are steeped in tradition, grounded in tradition.
Yes.
Where do you get this elasticity about knowledge from? Where do you get this flexibility in your approach to learning? Where does that come from?
I think I have taken the that which applies to any society in which I teach, because though etiquette has as its base the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do to you, in the sense that if I go to a restaurant and I am treated so well by my server, they ask my name and are you here for a birthday or whatever, but I have a little chat, or they place me some attention, it becomes a connection more than just a transaction of here's your food and give me the money. So that makes me feel good. Then that's the base. Etiquette is saying if it makes you feel good, then the other person would also feel good if you do it that way to them. So that's the foundation, because that is tied into basic human nature. We want to feel good, so any way that you can find to make another person feel good, do it. So that's the base. However, with various societies, we have differences. We have differences in what makes that person feel good. If I go to Japan and I am pouring some tea or some wine for an elderly person, let's say I'm pouring some wine, I would take that bottle with both hands and pour it, because that makes that elderly person feel respected. Here, one hand pouring is quite okay. But in another society where both hands, they would give you, as happened to me here and in Guyana, because as I said, the world is a global village. I went to the Pegasus and was handed a business card with both hands. Now I know from etiquette, if you are handed anything with both hands, you receive it with both hands. You see? So but it's, you go here to your Korean hairdresser, nail person, she might give you back your change with both hands. Then you receive that money with both hands, because that to them is a sign of respect. So there are the differences in what makes the other person feel good. And if you know them, you're at an advantage.
So is this why mirroring is so important?
That's why mirroring is so important. That is the reason.
Let's take a quick break.
Thank you.
It was just a wonderful experience.
I had a great time. I always have a great time when I come here. There was 1 week when I came here 3 times.
Very simple, good food, good friends, amazing staff. I can't complain.
Most of you. Sonia is having an event at the restaurant that I just presented to you, El Borta. Sonia, you want to tell us why or what this event is about?
Yes, tomorrow evening at the lovely Alberta restaurant, we're going to be having a fashion display and a trunk show. The last time I went to Alberta, that's when we had a meet and greet, and I absolutely fell in love with that place prior to having dinner there. And sometimes people say, oh, my clothing is really more for the summer. I want them to see that we have fall stuff and winter stuff too. So I think that is what was my main motivation for doing it around this time too, because most Caribbean designers, including myself, the bigger part of my line is the summer, but we have a variety, and we need people to come down and check it out tomorrow.
What time?
It's from 6 to 10, and it's between Park Place and 7th Avenue. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. We are back with Phillipa Morrish. Phillipa, with the demands of speaking engagements, teaching, running a business. How are you able to fully manage all?
Well, it takes discipline, and you always have to prioritize. You know, it's either you. If I have an early morning appointment, I know I can't go to bed very late. No matter if Homeland is showing and I desperately want to see it, I just have to go on demand and look at it that way. So it's just prioritizing. But I try to keep my priorities in order.
And you're very disciplined.
No.
Oh, okay.
But I try. I'm a work in progress.
What is your favorite time of the day, and what do you like doing then?
My favorite time of the day is early morning.
Really? What are your mornings
I have
like?
come to. It's very quiet, as we said. You know, it's like you can hear the universal It's just.
I love that.
It's just very, very quiet, and I can think. I am very sensitive. I'm very, very sensitive. I cannot go in the train with a novel and read it. My brain feels like I'm receiving too much impressions from all around. So I need that quiet. From the moment people start moving around, I know it because something is broken. So early morning is my time. And I love to just read scripture or meditate or whatever.
Where do you draw your inspirations?
From any well that's inspired, whether it's the Bible, whether it's a philosopher, whether it's just speaking to someone. This, I believe, there's a spirit of inspiration, meaning it's pure. Whatever's coming through, it could be from a child.
Well, it is in the spirit.
Yes. So anywhere that I see it, I grab hold of it because there is so much noise around that when it comes true, I'm so delighted.
Give us a spiritual moment that you've had recently.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna put me in trouble here. One that changed my life, and that's why I'll share it.
Okay.
I was just sitting. I can't tell you what I was doing because I can't remember. Just sitting. And suddenly I felt as though I were in a crowded place, like somewhere. How I envisage it now as like if I'm in Morocco, what you see, like spice sellers on both sides of the street, and the street is very, very crowded. And I was there about to buy something. Now, I can't tell you that I saw myself as a body, but I knew as a presence I was there about to buy something. And someone next to me, it was a fatherly presence. As I was about presence, it's not a person, said to me, "Do you like it? Do you like?" Say, if you were taking, you said, "What kind of?" And I observed that I was paying for this thing. It's like instead of money, it was time. And I said, "Oh, this is what spending time." And with that, I was just, what that little, I don't know what to call it, whatever it was, what it has done to change my life is that whenever I was asked, "Do you like what you are buying with your time?" And since then, even if I'm looking at a television show just mindlessly, that question comes to me. you like what you're exchanging this precious commodity for. And if I'm not really enjoying it or care about it, I ask myself, well, would you what you think you'll prefer to read a magazine or a book or call a friend? Whatever I would enjoy, I switch.
What still surprises you about yourself as a teacher?
What surprises me is that I am continuously learning. And I am able to incorporate this sensitivity, because I feel these what I myself see as strange experiences, but I feel it's there. It's just that some of us are a little more
sensitive,
open or sensitive to it than others. But I am able to incorporate the sensitive aspect of my nature with the practical, hard facts aspect, and bring a mix somewhere in the middle to benefit.
When are you more?
When I receive inspiration.
What did you discover recently or in your adult years that you wish you had known when you were a teenager? What have you discovered about yourself? Sorry.
That I'm a greater I'm a great, not only a greater survivor, I think I've discovered I'm okay. I'm okay. You know?
And that's very important.
And that's very important.
In the chat room, Gloria said, enjoying this so much.
Oh, thank you, Gloria.
What do you
That took a little courage for me to share that experience.
But you're all about courage.
Yes.
From what I've gathered in this conversation.
Yes.
What do you miss most about 16?
The me that just, I think I see it now as a bit of, I had an impulsive nature. That the minute something comes to my head, I did it. I didn't look around. I didn't ask anybody's opinion. I just did it. You know, now I think too much.
What keeps you going or keeps you motivated to keep going when the going gets tough?
Time. My bag of time is less than half now. And I look and I said, you've already spent. I don't think I'm going to live to be 100. I really don't. So I said, you've already spent half of it. And you'd better spend the rest the way you want to spend it. So that when the time comes that my bag is empty, I can have a smile on my face.
You know, I never ever do this on the show. And that is to use myself as a reference. But what you just said just inspired me to say this, and maybe, hopefully, it might trigger something in someone. About 3 years ago, I made a commitment. I made a covenant, rather, that for the next 10 years, I intend to give back to humanity what I believe that God has given to me, the gift that I came into this world with, because I feel that I spend a lot of time wondering and wondering and asking why this and why that. But I think I've gotten it. I've gotten why pain comes into our lives. I've gotten why there was so much suffering. And then when I realized that the pain and suffering that I experienced was not out of cruelty, but out of grace. Truly, I really don't, and it may sound harsh, but I intend to give to humanity. Given to me to give to humanity. So, thank you for saying that, and I hope that this helps some other folks.
That's precious. That's precious. Yes.
Looking back, if you had a chance to change anything about your education or your approach, what would you change, if anything? What kind of music calms you down?
Bread, Bono. it's such a wide range. Miriam Makeba. I don't have a particular genre.
Gotcha. What particular message you would like your audience, especially the young women, to leave here tonight with?
For women, young or old, I would like them to know that they were made in the image and likeness of the Creator. God said, as we are told, let us make man in our image and likeness. Male and female created he them, and called their name Adam or man. Later, where that he said, let us, and he created male and female after our image and our likeness. So in spite of generations of and just relegate them to the Adam and Eve of the garden, which is form, but trying to bury them, I say you were made in the image and likeness at the same time that the male was created. That's Genesis 1. You've got to go into 2.
You went there, didn't you?
Yes. You've got to go into 2 to find form. But 1 says, male and female created he them, he blessed them, and they were good, and he said, be fruitful, multiply, and replenish. Okay, so we cannot just wipe that out and say Eve was an evil person who tempted Adam, and we begin our religious training, teaching from Genesis 2. You ask anybody, they begin at 2. They've forgotten 1.
I have long believed that, and it might have come from my subconscious, I might have heard it somewhere, but I truly believe this, that when humanity is going to be a magnificent experience.
Exactly.
Because the mankinds came after. But that's for another session. You actually went, okay, all right. Yeah, the mankinds.
Yes.
Wow. You went there. Interesting. What can you tell us about you that most people do not know and might surprise them? What is one thing about you?
That I have so much spiritual sensitivity.
You just mentioned spirituality, but I'm going to ask the question this way.
Yes.
If there's a particular religious or spiritual compass or a set of principles that help to guide you through your day, can you share some with us?
It's recognizing that I am a human being and not a human doing. And it's about who I am, that amness. I don't have to be, I already am. And that I don't listen. Most of my friends would tell you, if they tell me about what this preacher said or that, I said, really? And it's not arrogance. It's not that I don't feel you have anything to teach me. But it's just that most messages I hear so focus on being a doing, a human doing. And you've always got to struggle and to strive to be. I already am.
Yes.
And that is my spiritual compass.
I am. I love that.
I am.
Gloria C said, I can see how you have followed your dreams.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
If you saw yourself walking down the street towards you,
yes,
what would you say to yourself when you meet?
You're beautiful.
Say it again.
You're beautiful. And meaning that from the spirit, you know? Yes.
What are you seeking out of life?
Expansion.
Love it. What do you believe ultimately is your contribution to life?
Expansion. To help others, yes. Not only myself, because I know, not only my belief, I know this. As I expand, others expand with me.
Let's take a quick break
Okay.
and then come back.
Okay.
We're back with the lovely Phillipa Morrish.
Thank you.
Phillipa, with all your accomplishment, what still surprises you about yourself?
That I feel so unaccomplished, if I can put it that way. Because for example, when I read, I listen to you read my bio, it's like I'm listening at somebody else's bio, you know? And I have to tell myself, no, you really did something, you did it, you know? So maybe that's a way of keeping myself where I can always just reach forward.
What are you most proud of?
My love for mankind.
If you could go back in time, what would you tell your 16-year-old self?
You'll be okay. And not only that, you will excel.
What are you most thankful for?
My family.
What is gratifying about being Phillipa Morrish?
Me, I think that I've been able to attract a husband who is my soulmate, a beautiful human being, and friends and family. I think I've been able to attract people to me who really are the best supporters for anybody's journey.
I believe beauty attracts beauty.
Oh, thank you.
Because beauty is in the eyes of the beholder.
Beholder.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ashad said, beautiful expansion.
Thank you.
And GY to NY said, I feel the fire of your guest.
Oh.
Thanks for introducing her to share her journey.
Oh, that is so precious. Thank you. Thank you all.
Finish the sentence. I look forward to Sunday evenings too.
Look at a movie with my husband.
And this is a question I ask all my guests. I guess my audience is accustomed to this by now. But what makes you laugh out loud?
The unexpected. Anything I do not expect can just make me explode with laughter. The unexpected.
What surprised you about CWS?
How much I connected with.
I feel the same.
I feel we were on the same path.
Thanks for coming.
Oh, thank you for having me. And thank you, Gloria. Thank you, Sonia. And thank you, everyone out there. I loved this session. Thank you.
I enjoyed it. And thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And this is Selwyn Collins saying good night to my audience. Please tune in tomorrow for Dr. Kamau Kokai. You guys going to really enjoy this session tomorrow.